How's it, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the PH Journals podcast. This week's episode is brought to you by Speed Broadheads. These guys reached out to me a couple of days ago, actually, and they were like, hey, you want to be a part of the ambassador team? I was like, of course, yes. I just started shooting mechanical broadheads. Of course, my first day didn't go all according to plan. If you guys haven't yet, go along, check that episode out. Probably not the most ideal episode to end on or to start on as far as mechanical broadheads is concerned. But yeah, nonetheless, I'm pretty excited to join the Speed team. And looking forward to putting a couple of their broadheads to the test. This week's episode of the podcast is a jam-packed one. I'm super excited about this topic. So let's get into it. So guys, one of my favorite parts of any safari is after the shot processing. Now, what do I mean by this? Well, I'm talking more specifically about photography. I love taking photos. Now, this was something I kind of picked up a couple of years ago. And I think it's a fairly new thing. When I say new, I've been in the game now for about 15 years. It's slowly crept into the industry about professional hunters taking... That was lightning, and that is crazy. That is cool. In winter, it's freezing cold here in South Africa. It really is. That took me a bit off guard. I'm not gonna lie. If I looked like I scrucked myself a little bit in the video, I did almost shit my pants. But anyway, that's strange. Middle of winter, and we've got a lightning or thunderstorm outside there. Anyway, so as I was saying, photography has kind of crept into the industry over the past couple of years, and I'm super pumped up about it because for a number of reasons, right? I think it's just a great way to show a lot of respect to the animals we work so hard to hunt. Now, I'm not saying back in the day they did it all wrong ways and stuff like that. There's a couple of things we need to remember about the older generational PHs. There wasn't smartphone technology, so can you imagine them walking around the bush with those spooled cameras and shooting a bunch of images, looking through that little peephole, trying to get the right angle and making sure that they show dignity and respect to the animal that they've hunted. So you got to give it to them. Some of the images that we see now in the industry that have been used on marketing shows and all that sort of stuff are those kind of images. It's kind of cool to go back and see how things were done. And then it kind of went through like phases, right? So then there was that period, and then there was the period where, things starting to get a little bit more mobile. The Mick and Drix started going away, and you actually had the digital now cameras coming into effect. But this was kind of passed on to the wives of the safari, the observers of the safari, and they used to walk around behind their husbands after the animal was shot, sit down and get their digital screen out and kind of like take a couple of shots with the digital screen and stuff. It was kind of cool. It was really cool, and that also added a completely different aspect to it. But as too did the technology evolve, so too did the actual photography setup evolve as well. So back in the day, a very bad habit of guys just standing around a kill, holding their head up or grabbing it by its horns or sitting on the animal. There were a lot of bad intentions. I mustn't say bad intentions, but there were a lot of bad poses to what was actually going on there. And nothing, I'm sure they didn't mean any sort of disrespect or how they were taking the photo. It just wasn't aesthetically pleasing to see those sort of images out there. But so as to the technology evolved, so too did the posing and the attention to detail, because guys started realizing, well, hang on, this is kind of more like a marketing tool to us, because these guys are getting back from hunting, and on their coffee tables is a picture folder, and they're getting the photos developed, and it's on their coffee table, and the friends and family are flipping through it, and they're checking their safari out. So maybe we need to put a little bit more attention to detail into the photos. And then they started presenting the animals. And now this was a crucial period in the whole photography cycle. What I feel is because they realized that there's features to our magnificent wildlife. And the special part about having these features was to showcase them, showcase the beauty, because trophy is, geez, poor Uncle Chappie Scott will shit in his pants if you heard me say this, because I remember at PH school he used to say, no, the correct answer is not in the eyes of the beholder. The correct answer to a trophy is a Roland Award and whatever. Anyway, bless Uncle Chappie. Yeah, so, but anyway, what I was trying to say is that the photos started presenting a lot of the features and uniqueness our South African game had, because they realized that this was going to be the marketing tool that they needed, because some people, like I said, trophies in the eye of the beholder. Now, some people might like the the chevron on the kudu's nostril before they like the nice curled spiral. Just using petty examples, but the PHs then started highlighting these sort of things by ways of propping their heads up. We saw introduction of the springback going on the traditional anthill mound, and the hunter sitting next to him holding its head up. We've seen stones being piled up underneath the animal's mouth and presenting the head so that the horns get in the beautiful skyline. And then we started seeing different angles of the body started to come into shape. And the more we evolved in the introduction of social media, God bless it for what it is. It's some people use it as a very valuable tool. Some people hate it. Some people enjoy it. Some people make a living off of it. And this is where we started really seeing a lot more of the attention to detail coming through on photos, because now it was being used to capture not only the animal's beauty, but emotion and cinematic feel, the actual essence of feeling like you're there watching the sunset, standing behind a game spark, whatever it may be. And this was a very important transition. And now, last and definitely not least, we've seen a lot more empathetic approaches to animals, and this is what I love so much about this, and we're going to talk extensively on it this episode of the podcast, is because I think it creates so much emotion behind what you've just done, that it's almost in such a special way showcasing the vulnerability us hunters go through in these moments. And I think it's a beautiful way to showcase your achievement. Cool. So that's it. That's the pretty much the timeline of how photography happened in the industry. But what is the reason behind all of this? Why have we got into this habit of straight after the shot, let's take a photo with the animals? And we've been doing it for decades. As far as you can think back, Teddy Roosevelt came over to the African continent, and after his hunt, posed with these animals and all that sort of stuff, and it really became a thing. And I wanted to know why was this a thing? I spoke about it in my episode of The Common Rebuck, and I did a beautiful podcast, one of my first I ever did, and I'm definitely going to go back to chat to him again, Stephen Townley Bassett. And we spoke about he's an incredible rock artist. He's very enthusiastic about the rock arts in the Drakensberg and all over South Africa, and he's done some extensive research. He's been on programs such as Carte Blanche and all that sort of stuff. He goes and showcases his art. I've seen him over in the States a couple of times. But this was such a unique thing, because and hence why PH Journals started, right? Because of the telltale stories that went on behind a hunt. Now, us as hunters, that's a primal instinct we've held on to for some substantial amount of time, right? Since the cave paintings, those were essentially the first depictions of memories captured on a piece of canvas to share and commemorate what was going on. Yeah, there were psychedelics involved, so they were as high as kites. But anyway, the main reason behind it was for them to share their expressive nature and their ability to share the stories and the experiences that they had doing what they love and what's embedded into our primal instincts. And I think it's something us as hunters have held on to for decades, for centuries. And I think it's such a unique thing because it's a beautiful thing, because it's something we shouldn't lose. But that's where it all started for me. I was like, when I started PH Journals, I kind of sat back and I was like, oh, what am I going to call this brand of myself? And journaling with my mental health and all that sort of stuff helped me get out of the dark patches. But in the same essence, I wanted to journal the experiences I had out in the field. And I think this is why we captivate moments out there. And that's the beautiful thing that it's turned into, is captivating moments. And I'm super stoked about it. And so I think that is one of the main priority reasons, is we're holding on to this primal instinct that we are trying to look after, and we are doing such an incredible job doing it. I just want to commend, I'll maybe start off here and just say a huge thank you to all our fellow hunters, all our fellow professional hunters that utilize the photography space as not only just a tool, but a piece of history that showcases your love, passion, and empathetic approach into wildlife, and how hunting is a necessary part of our everyday life, and it's embedded into our primal instincts. So thank you to those guys that have put out the effort and all that sort of stuff. We've slowly edged more to that photography, photos of our experiences is no longer just a part of a hunt, but it's become part of the experience. And it really has. We've stopped and showcased experiences through the lens. Nowadays, everything is utilized on social media, and we want our fellow followers to be able to observe from our perspective. And I don't think it's a lot of it, especially in the hunting space, I think, and I can't speak on behalf of everybody, but I think it's such a space that it's not used as bragging, but it's rather used as a sense of communication through feeling. I often get the sense of feeling that, like, a lot of these companies, MTN Ops, do an exceptional job of captivating cinematic shots where you are in that feeling, not just in the image. And I think that's really, really cool. Cool. So, to ask the many, many questions that young professional hunters have asked me in the past, does gear matter? And I want to talk about gear because I think it's such an important part of this whole thing, depending on how deep you really want to go into it. So, to kick everything off, what do I use? And I'm going to give my advice afterwards. So right now I'm shooting off my Sony FX30. I don't really like that angle. It's too close up in my face. But anyway, I'm shooting off my Sony FX30. I love this camera. It's a cinematic camera. It captures moments beautifully. I can utilize it for photography and all that sort of stuff. I've rigged it out properly now. I've got external batteries. I've got good memory cards, and we've really, really kitted it out. Josh Snowman, that came out and did the documentary with me last year, he was fortunate. He knows Sony's off the back of his hand, and he came and set it up for me. Literally push of a button and I'm A4 away. So some of the pros to it, it's got 4K capabilities. It's got professional color grading afterwards. Of course, the cinematic imagery, fantastic for YouTube documentaries as well as my hunting videos and all that. And it just gives me this unique aesthetic look that I've been going for. Some of the cons, it's bulky and heavy to carry around on a continuous basis. I've got into a very good habit where I've got a nice little backpack that I just chuck everything in, put it on the back seat, and it goes around with me wherever I go. If it's got to go onto the back, I always strap it to my rails, making sure that everything lasts. It's extremely heavy, difficult to carry while we're tracking, requires lenses, accessories, and a bunch of financial capital outlay. And then, of course, there's so many things. If you don't have a cameraman with you, this camera is not a solo professional hunter's asset. Just say. Next up, I use the DJI Osmo Action 6. This little action camera is absolutely exceptional. It's got a 1-inch sensor, which is really, really crazy. Now, in simple terms, that sensor you can utilize for the YouTube profile that you guys see, or you can utilize it for like TikToks and YouTube Shorts, whatever, in the vertical aspect ratio. That's a really, really neat little feature. Only problem with this is that it's, some of the pros are it's tiny, lightweight, and of course it's waterproof. Easy to mount anywhere. GY6, they've come out with some really cool mounts. I'm so excited to use them out in the bush once again. So easy to mount anywhere. You can utilize it. It's also got 4K capabilities, great with image quality, and it captures the lighting great. And then also a big pro to it, the stabilization inside of it is out of this world. Some of the cons, it's got a subscription ecosystem, so it's a monthly fee that you'll have to pay. Footage often needs downloading from other devices like your cell phone, all that, and to utilize to some of its best ability. So this means that when you're in remote hunting camps, you don't have access to that footage almost immediately. Some do, but if you've got another party or another way of downloading the video, it might get a little bit difficult. And then of course the go-to, everyone's got one, smartphone. This has changed. Not only changed the world, but it's changed the landscape of how hunting is captured. Guys are utilizing their smartphones now to capture their hunts. It's crazy. It's crazy the capabilities of what it can do. Pros, always with you, fast to pull out, excellent quality, easy to edit because all your editing apps are on there. Instant upload to Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp, all the social media platforms. Clients can immediately share their photos with friends and family. Now, this is unique. Now, cons, battery life, struggles in poor light, limited zoom, easy to miss the moment if notifications distract you. Don't know why I put that in. Anyway, I've missed the moment a couple of times. So to answer everyone's question, is gear important? To me, yes. Because I'm just that guy. I love taking perfect photos. I love sharing great quality imagery. I love sharing great quality videos. I've worked very, very hard to get to this point. Some of my earlier stuff was absolutely horrendous. But yes, gear is important. If you don't have a top quality phone, guys, professional hunters, or clients coming out to hunt this beautiful country, bring out the right gear, because I promise you these moments are epic to capture. And I think it's very, very important. If you've got anything like an iPhone or great Samsung that has got good quality imagery, utilize it and utilize it all the time. So I've touched on a lot of these points, but I wanted to talk about respecting the animal. This is an important part because I'm actually going to do an Instagram reel on this tomorrow. But so during this whole debacle with this whole why do biltong hunters get a different price to American hunters and stuff, one of the comments that was directed to me, and I kind of just shrugged it off, or I kind of just like, I actually didn't shrug it off. I took it in, and I was a little bit taken back by it, because I've always been of the opinion that I think if you are good at what you do, and I'm not saying I'm the best, I'm just saying I think I'm pretty decent out there in the professional hunting world, and you earn the right to give advice, and I think I've done that. I think I've been through enough experiences to be able to give advice. Now, what is advice in essence? Well, advice is just experiences you have had that you have learned to distinguish the right or the wrong, or what might benefit you more than another option, and to be able to pass that advice on to somebody who might not work for, but he might also appreciate that sort of stuff. You have to earn the right to do that. Now, where is this all going, and what is my point I'm trying to get at here is that one of the comments said to me, he said, what did he say? He said something along the lines of, what are my credentials to be able to give this sort of an opinion? And I didn't respond, but I've been thinking about it for some time now. And I was like, you earn the right to give advice, and I think that's very, very important. And some of the advice, or some of the things I'm about to mention, it is advice of past experiences that I have had, good or bad, what I have seen that has worked, what hasn't worked. And I think that's very important, that we need to understand there's no right or wrong way of doing it. There's just better and bad ways of dealing with situations. And you try and deal with the situations as best as you possibly can. Okay, I'm waffling on, but the point of this is that talking about what is my depiction of an ethical photograph, and why this is so important in showing respect to the animal. Other people might see it differently, but this is how I see it. So number one and foremost out there is cleaning the animal and making it presentable. Guys, I've seen a very, it goes through waves, I feel. There'll be photos that are released by obviously up and coming professional hunters, or professional hunters that just don't give a shit, where there's just blood all over the show. The other day I saw a warthog that it was something else, and the PH obviously dragged it to get it into position. There's just blood and the stones all sticking to the body, and it's just if somebody was going to take a photo of me when I was dead, I would want to look as peaceful as possible. And when you see stuff like that, it just makes your heart a little bit unhappy, because there's no respect to that. We take time in brushing our animals, something I learned from Rusty. Brushing our animals. I've got a chamois now that I drive around in my backyard. I've actually got 4 of the damn things, because every now and then the one's wet and you need a dry one. And we clean the blood extensively. We make sure that there's no blood and puddles of blood around the actual animal. We've got a respectable patch of good visible land that we can share these images with the guys, so that it's nice and fulfilled and it looks beautiful. Because that's just a sign of respect. When people go to the mortuaries and get ready for funerals and all that, I'm talking about death now, so it's not very pretty, but people get made to look beautiful. And I think that's very important that we need to do. And it's us as professional hunters' job to make sure that these are the sort of things that we take the time and effort to put in. Said it, remove as much visible blood as possible. Close the mouth, stick the tongue away, guys, please. Position the legs naturally. Never drag the animal into a photo. That's what I said. And present the animal with dignity. Now, a lot of people, like I said, the evolution of photography in the hunting space has grown immensely. Now, presenting the animal with dignity can mean so many different things at the moment, and it's beautiful to see some of the great creative ideas that guys have come up with on social media. And this is why social media is such a beautiful tool, because you can really capture some beautiful moments. One of my favorite photos was from this year with Chris Morris. Excuse me. With Chris Morris and his fellow deer. Captivating the nice dark tones and cinematic approach to the whole thing. And some PHs might just say, well, fuck, I'm not creative enough for any of this sort of stuff. Let me just lie down and have, but just still put effort into it, because you'll be surprised. The more effort you actually start putting into your photos, the better the quality really gets. And it's been this beautiful like little competition within the hunting industry on how cool or how different photos can get. We've got guys now posing with the animals. It's very, very cool. So present the animal with dignity and showcase that it's true beauty and natural beauty. Try not take photos the same way all the time. Play around with wide landscape shots, portraits, hunters sitting beside the animals, looking into the distance, different poses from the hunter's perspective, walking away, behind the scenes moments, PH and client together talking, family photos, detail shots, hands, boots, close-ups of the rifle, spent cartridge, campfire afterwards. Tell the whole story of the hunt. Don't just, I shot an impala today, let me take a photo of the impala and that's it. Share the whole hunt. After the hunt, loading the animal. There's a lot of beautiful ways to really share and tell your story. If you look back at the cave paintings that I always refer to, it's actually quite crazy. They talk about how they ran after the animals to chase them down, or how they sabotaged not sabotaged, is sabotage? No. How they snuck up on them and how they caught them. It's a whole affluent way of telling a story. Don't be scared to capture those moments. It's very, very important. Try and understand, or try and I've learned to try and shoot images with my senses. So the feel, the touch of a cold air breeze in the morning, or the smell of the bush, where you bump one of the, like a fynbos or something, and the pollen shoots up into the air and all that sort of stuff. Long stalks, the sweatiness afterwards, us wiping the clients sitting beneath you, lying under a tree, the sheer relief after the shot, and then of course presenting the animal the respect after the shot. These are sort of things you can try and captivate as you go on. It's really a special part of the safari that needs to be kept going forward, because the guys can constantly talk. I mean, we've seen photos of the clients on the back of the pickups, we're taking photos with the trackers, taking selfies and doing all that sort of stuff. Get involved with that and be present at that. Now, the benefits of photography, right? And I said this earlier, you as PHs, we need to remember that this is the last time clients will be able to take their memories back with them until their trophies and stuff arrive from the taxidermists. So these are the tools that they are going to use to tell the story to their friends, family, loved ones, on social media, whoever it may be. So the reason why that is so important is to captivate those memories, and still some of the best advertising is word of mouth. Next up is utilize it to the best of your ability for your social media profile. Now, I did an episode on this as why you need to advertise yourself individually as a professional hunter. It's very, very important to develop yourself as a personal brand, because even if you're freelancing, whether you're freelancing or working for somebody else, to have your personal brand and your personal portfolio attached to you at all times and at a click of a button is so very important. And this is why we need to take time in captivating moments, utilizing our senses and all of that sort of stuff, so that the people on the other side relate with you. And often that's how you build connection with clients and people that want to come and hunt and are following and all that sort of stuff. And that's how you can generate your money. So that's where the benefits are of going through all this effort with the photography and making sure that you captivate those memories as best as you possibly can to showcase who you are as an individual. Sometimes you talk 1,000 words through one image, and you can really see it. And that's that, guys. I think I haven't really touched on how to pose your animals, taking cinematic shots and all that sort of stuff. I think that is a YouTube episode I'll have to do, because it's very difficult on a podcast to try and get the guys who are listening to this to visually imagine it as much as they can. But yeah, so I think understanding that a trophy hangs on a wall, but a photograph lives in your heart. Years from now, you'll forget the exact distance of the shot or how many inches the horns measured. But one great photograph can instantly take you back into the morning that the hunt happened. As professional hunters, photographers, and storytellers, we have a responsibility to honor the animals and to celebrate the hunter and preserve the memory. Because when dust settles, the photos become the chapter that lasts forever. Excuse me. And that is so true, guys. We've seen it time and time again that hunters would always refer back to their Instagram posts, to their Facebook stories, whatever it may be, to share their hunting adventure. And whether you like it or not, this is a part of the industry that we can utilize in a very positive way, because it can also be a tool used to absolutely destroy us. Used incorrectly, photography can be one of the most powerful tools to end the hunting industry once and for all if we don't do it the right way. And I think it's very important. But in saying that, I think the vast majority of hunters in general, not just PHs, not just guides, but everyday hunters from the southern tip of Africa right to the northern poles, and it's very important to understand that. I think as hunters we understand the responsibility, or I'm speaking majority now. There are always going to be those one or few bad apples that just really don't give a shit, but I think generally speaking, as hunters, we are very aware of how important photography is of the actual excursion. And I think that's so important, and I think it's a beautiful thing we hold on to. Like I said, we're holding on to a very key primal instinct that's been built up inside of us. So yeah, that's always it's my best part of the safari. And yeah, if you're a client and you're coming out, be patient with your professional hunters when they're setting up their photo scene, because yeah, a lot of them, it shows a lot of respect and character towards what we do. So yeah, well guys, that's it for this week's episode of the podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you guys did enjoy this episode, I'd appreciate a thumbs up, and don't forget to like and subscribe. I've got a flat out couple of weeks now. I've got a meeting tomorrow night, and then I head into some exciting hunting, hopefully bagging myself some very special animals. But I really want to shoot a warthog this season. So yeah, we're going to try and get out into the bush as quickly as possible. But as always, from myself, if you are, happy hunting. Until then, stay safe, stay blessed, stay humble. Catch up with you guys soon.